Hey guys, Shot the Monkey here. So I'm going to bring you another Warplanes video. This time we're doing the review of the Tier 3 American premium fighter, the Brewster F2A-1 Buffalo, or as I affectionately like to call it, the real life egg plane. Because for those of you who've ever seen egg planes before, this is pretty much what this is. It's a ridiculously looking aircraft in regards to its proportions, but enough about that. Let's talk about the aircraft itself in regards to how it performs on the warplanes. So, what do we need to know about the F2A-1? It's hilariously good fun, first of all. Unlike the F2A-1 in the tech tree, this aircraft sits at Tier 3. Reason being is because compared to the F2A-1 you have, I believe, inferior armament at the very least. As you can see here, the F2A in the tech tree is at Tier 4. If you pull that up, you can see that you get an option of 250 cals in the wings, 2 in the nose, and then bombs, whereas this aircraft only comes equipped with a single 50 cal and a single 7.62mm machine gun. They are mounted here just above the engine, so this has inferior firepower compared to the Tier 4 counterpart. It also has, I believe, slightly less hit points, but I think the airspeed, maneuverability and altitude performance are around on par with each other. Of course those have changed in regards to my aircraft because I've gone into upgrades, but we'll get into that a bit later on. So, what do you need to know to fly this aircraft effectively? Again, as with the F1C2 that we did yesterday, this aircraft is still at a kind of tier where you haven't seen the traits of the nation that it's part of come out yet. It is a bit more prevalent here at Tier 3, but it's still a lot of aircraft are based around manoeuvrability fighting rather than being able to use airspeed effectively. I'm not saying that airspeed is completely worthless at this tier, because it most certainly isn't, but you are still quite manoeuvrability focused down at Tier 3, and that usually won't change until the very earliest Tier 4, if not Tier 5 and onwards. As you can see by the stats lined up down here, this is quite an agile aircraft with regards to manoeuvrability, has reasonable altitude performance and quite reasonable airspeed. Survivability is acceptable. It doesn't feel that fragile at all. It has a reasonable amount of hit points, it can take a reasonable amount of damage, and the good armament, while not brilliant, is pretty nice. You can definitely fire the guns on this aircraft for a very long time before they overheat, and while the damage is not exactly what one might call considerable damage, it is certainly acceptable, and you can sit behind an aircraft and begin like spraying machine guns at them for a very long time. So you have a lot of pursuit capability and a lot of capability to just provide continuous fire onto enemy aircraft that you happen to be able to chase or get in front of you. So, with that being said, what do you need to watch out for when you're flying this aircraft? Well, the one thing you need to always be mindful of is that, as I've stated earlier on, your manoeuvrability is your key value, so you always need to be aware of having wings and tail damaged. You always need to be aware of the kind of speed that you're operating at. If you start going close to your stall speed, your manoeuvrability drops off considerably, and that'll put enemy aircraft at an advantage when trying to get behind you. But you can quite comfortably perform turns and other manoeuvres to try and get aircraft from off your tail and get behind them. The roll rate on this aircraft is not brilliant. It's, I think, perfectly adequate for Tier 3, Tier 4 in the aircraft that you run into. But of course, if you get into Tier 4 games, you'll start running into aircraft like the early Hurricanes, the late version I-16s, the I-17s, even the A6M1s, and they are all aircraft with considerable manoeuvrability capabilities themselves, and they will start to pose a challenge to this aircraft because of it being at Tier 3 and it not being as good as its Tier 4 tech tree counterpart. So just to keep that in mind when you're using the aircraft. So if we go back into upgrades again, as you can see, I've not got a specialist with mine yet. I'm still on my way to getting there. But with regards to service, I'm running universal ammunition, which is the standard for me. If I can run universal ammunition on everything, then I will run universal ammunition on everything. With regards to consumables, emergency control system to restore controllability of wings and tail, because as I've said, you are still manoeuvrability focused despite being an American aircraft. So having wings and tail damage is not ideal, and you want to get that fixed as soon as possible. And then again, fire extinguisher. You could argue that healing crew members is a more valuable thing to have here, because of course if your pilot is injured, your aircraft manoeuvrability is reduced again, but you're still quite low tier where fires are pretty dangerous regardless of what you're flying, so I'd rather be able to have the ability to put fires out. However, unlike the F1C2, on this aircraft I have put equipment in, specifically some somewhat enhanced equipment. I've got an improved lightweight wing frame, and then I've just gone for a basic stock upgraded engine. The improved lightweight wing frame, as you can see there, improves roll manoeuvrability and manoeuvrability in turns for a slight loss in hit points and a slight reduction in resistance to critical damage for the wings, although as you can see one of the bonus characteristics I've got actually halves that value, which is quite a nice thing to have. With regards to the hit point loss, you only lose, at least in my case, 3.4 hit points, which I think is about, I think it's 5 off the total there. I think I lose 5 hit points, so it's not that big of a deal. The resistance to fire isn't such a big issue, nor is the wings resistant to critical damage, because of course I have the ability to fix them. But the bonus again to manoeuvrability is quite nice. It certainly brings the roll rate up noticeably so, which means that this aircraft is far more capable in manoeuvring fights, because of course the faster you can roll, the faster you can change directions, and that gives you advantages above just being able to turn tighter than an aircraft that you run into. And the stock upgraded engine I've gone for just for a little bit of acceleration and a little bit more cruise speed, because while this aircraft isn't slow, there are a few situations in games where having that little bit extra thrust or that little bit extra speed does allow you to keep behind an enemy and keep that sustained firepower on them and in effective range for far longer than you might without it. It's not a massive difference, but it is a slight difference, and even sometimes slight differences are just enough to make your aircraft more effective than it would be otherwise. With regards to crew skills, I haven't got anything on this guy yet. I don't know if I will. It's quite low tier. Tier 3, a bit more respectful in regards to the earnings you can get for credits and experience than Tier 2, but again, not exactly brilliant. You start to really kind of notice that premium bonuses coming into play Tier 5 onwards, in my opinion. If I was going to pick up crew skills for this guy, though, most certainly battle tested. Most certainly I'd go for aerobatics expert, and then I might pick up both Marksman 1 and Marksman 2, simply because you have very few guns and they don't do that much damage, so the more rounds you can get on target because of how many rounds they put out and how long you can keep them firing for, the better off you will be. And I think that's pretty much it. So, I've got a couple of battles again, not a couple, actually 3 battles again lined up for you this time. One of them isn't particularly low scoring, but it's just to kind of make the point that even with a pretty low scoring game, at least in my opinion, you can still make a decent earning. One is kind of like the average score that I expect for a reasonable game in this aircraft, and then one was a rather exceptional game where there was a whole lot of fighting going on, and I managed to rack up what I'd consider quite a nice score for a Tier 3 aircraft, and you can see that the earnings and experience awards, even without the bonus for the first win of the day on that victory, is very nice for Tier 3, and has made this aircraft a whole lot of fun to fly, and personally just goes exactly the distance to describe why I think that this aircraft is certainly valuable, and if you get the chance to pick it up, to buy it or to earn it in events, do so, because it doesn't disappoint. I've enjoyed the F2A. I probably will continue to enjoy the F2A for a long time. It's an aircraft even in the tech tree that, when I've researched it on my European account, was great fun to fly. And of course, one of the iconic aircraft of the early war for the Americans. So, yeah, that's it. I'll let you guys get on with watching the battles. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.
The enemy is trying to capture the plant. Don't let them do it. We have complete control of the skies. Way to go. Keep it up. Victory is almost ours. Be advised, a line of thunderstorms is approaching. We'll soon be unable to provide support. Do you copy? Over. We have complete control of the skies. Way to go. Victory is ours. We're waiting for your return. Launching rocket strikes on our complex. Try to neutralize the enemy military base. Our rocket has reached the target. Enemy objects damaged. Hang in there. You'll soon be cut off from support. I say again, support will not be available. We have complete control of the skies. Way to go. Way to go. Victory is close. That's it. There's no way to break through for you now. You're on your own. I'm proud of you, pilots. Head back home.